Welcome everybody to another edition of Cranky Motorsports. Today is kind of the first day of my furlough. I'm off work all next week, so I have lots of time on my hands, lots of projects to work on. This is the second Onan. This one's going in the Mighty Mongrel 3. I did some work on it this morning that I did not bother recording. I probably should have, but I decided not to because I just didn't feel like it. Anyway, what I did today, I took this bearing plate off, I changed the seal in here, I changed the gasket on the outside, I changed the oil pan gasket on this motor, so this motor is pretty much ready to go in the tractor once I finish painting the engine tins on it. This one I probably won't do as nice of a paint job on as I did on the other one, mainly because I don't feel like degreasing the whole thing. So while you may think it's kind of a hack move to not paint this motor, I will take a wire brush and clean all the loose flaky paint off, clean all the corrosion off of it, and probably just soak it down with some WD-40 to keep it from getting more corroded. I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do for the exhaust on this. I may leave these pepper shaker mufflers on this because the spirit of the Mighty Mongrel is kind of like an old piece of equipment that was resurrected. The other one that I built, the Mongrel 2, which was basically the same tractor, I kind of did the same thing. That one, when I painted it, it was too hot outside, so the paint flashed over really dull, and it looked like a piece of equipment that had been sitting outside for many years. So kind of the same thing I'm doing with this guy. The points are done on this one. I have a new points wire for the coil. I did the valve cover gaskets. I adjusted the valves. I did head gaskets on it, and I did those two gaskets in the seal around the crank. This motor's pretty much ready to go. So I'm just going to get to cleaning it up a little bit, getting it ready to go in. I got to clean up and rebuild two carburetors for these two motors, so I'm going to kind of take you guys along on a bit of a journey to work on that stuff. So got a little bit more work done on this here roper. I got my carburetor rebuilt. I got the intake gasket all set and ready to go. And I need to get some gaskets. I have them in the other room. So let me go grab those gaskets real quick. This is kind of a treat because these are genuine Onan's Common parts. So I had bought these a couple of years ago for one of my tractors. I was buying these. So the original number, or the part number from Cummins is right there, 0154-2495. I forget what the original Onan number is, but I have it somewhere. So I have these. These are my last two original ones that I have. And I do have to put the bracket for the air cleaner on here. Right now I'm just going to put the intake on with the gasket so I can at least get it set in place where it needs to go and get the rags out of the intake. And you probably wonder why, James, when you redo an engine on your tractor and you do all that nice work to get it painted and everything, why don't you spend the extra time and paint the intake manifold? Well, in order to get the intake manifold painted and seal it, I would have had to paint it first and then seal it. and I don't always think that far ahead. So I don't really care if the intake manifold looks kind of crummy with gasket sealer on it, because most of the time the hood's going to be closed on this tractor and you won't see it. And it doesn't affect the operation of it, so I don't really care that much. And I know sometimes it's backwards to do all this work to clean up and paint a tractor and not paint the intake manifold and small things like that, but sometimes when you have so much stuff going on, 3 or 4 or 5 projects all at the same time, you just really don't want to take the time to do all of them perfectly 100%, and keeps me humble. Truth be told, I don't want to take the time to do it, and it's not going to affect the operation of the tractor. Nobody's really going to see it. After I drive this thing once or twice, this whole engine is going to be covered in dirt anyway, so what difference does it make? Realistically, I'm just trying to make it useful. And I don't really care if it looks perfect, so say what you want. I will probably cut out all that audio because nobody wants to hear me blabber on about what I want to do or don't want to do with my engine. Alright, so the intake is roughly sitting in place. I need to figure out, I have a little L bracket that you saw me painting that I always forget which side it goes on, if it goes on this one or this one, but it goes on one of those two, so I'm not going to tighten these down yet. But the bolts are there, the straps are there. Let me see, I have to go get the points cover and put that guy back on if I can find the screws for it, because oftentimes those little screws go missing. And this guy, you want to make sure that this wire is pushed in that little notch, because I went from 16 gauge to 14 gauge wire. I really got to kind of jam it in there. I opened that hole up a little bit with a screwdriver just to try to make it a little bit looser. Alright, here's the points cover. And there's a gasket on the back of this. Make sure that gasket goes on so you don't have a leak. I always tend to lose these screws. I don't know exactly what thread they are. They're like an 832 or an 824 or something. Half of my tractors have mismatched screws holding these things on, so this is an older style points cover. 1976 they switched. They went to one that has a cap that slides down on top of it. I kind of like these better, to be honest, because it's easier to get the cover off when the tractor's together. So there you go. There's the points cover, carburetor. And I think that bracket goes on this side. Let's go look at one. Let's see what bracket I'm talking about here. Let's see which Onan is not messed up at the moment. Good old 73 over here. Gotta walk around the loader. Alright, let's see here. So, the bracket I'm talking about is right down here. So that's going to go on the front of the motor on the innermost stud for the air cleaner. So I'm going to go, that guy I just painted. At least I know where it goes now on this guy. Yeah. All these tractors just sitting by, waiting to be driven and worked on and loved. There's a lot of fun stuff in here. Left the hood up. So as far as the roper goes, I'm just tinkering on a few things on the motor. Again, I got to bolt it on. I got it in place. I scratched it a little bit. Right here. There's a nice little scratch on it. I accidentally wasn't paying attention when I dropped it in yesterday. This guy's looking real good though. And then on the mongrel, I haven't done too much except drop the dash in place. And I got voltmeters for these because I like voltmeters better than ammeters. So I got a white voltmeter for this one and I got a black one for the other one. I also got brand new ignition switches that come with pigtails. So whenever I drop the dash on this guy, you'll see that. Brand new starter solenoid. This is an original rectifier. I ordered some brand new rectifiers. I'm hoping this one works. If I recall, that one did work, but I have new rectifiers coming too if I decide to put them in. These are getting 100% brand new wiring from scratch, so that's why I got the new ignition switches with the pigtails on them, and Basically everything else on the tractor is going to be wired brand new, all brand new wire. I got 1,000 feet of wire in 10 different colors, and I just want to have perfect wiring on these. Oh yeah, something I haven't talked about on the Roper. I'm putting some pedestal lights on the back fenders. So instead of having the cheesy little round tail light, I've had these things sitting for about 5 or 6 years. I bought these to put on the back of my snow cabs, and now that I use these, I'm going to buy a couple more of them. These are Road Pro brand. I think I bought them off eBay from, I don't know, some trucking company. And I just realized that I drilled a 1/2-inch hole on the back of the fenders for these, but let me set up the old handy dandy tripod here. Alright, so you see I drilled this little hole in the back of the fender right here. And what I plan to do with these guys, and I can't remember if these have 1156 or 1157 bulbs in them. They might have an 1157 bulb. So that means I can technically wire them to be on with the ignition, or on with the headlights rather, and then flash. And I have a 552 thermal flasher that I'm going to wire in with these guys, so they actually will flash. I think these are, I think these are 1157 bulbs, and they ground out. So these are for semi-trucks, believe it or not. I really like them. I get them for about 10 bucks a piece, maybe a little bit less, maybe 8 bucks a piece, I think. And you bolt them on just like here. It has a little rubber grommet on there. They look real sharp. And what that's going to do is give me a red flashing light in the back and an amber flashing light in the front. And it really, I think, looks pretty sharp on the back of this here tractor. So, yeah. And again, I'm not trying to make this thing look like a car or a truck or anything like that. There's just certain things that people have from their past and when they were a kid or something like that, that they really like. I always liked the semi-trucks that had lights all over them, the LEDs all along the front and stuff like that. When I was a kid, believe it or not, I actually thought it would be really cool to buy a Mack truck with a sleeper cab on it and use it as my daily driver and live in it. I guess I should have been a truck driver, but I'm not. But anyway, so yeah, these are going to go on the back. I think they're going to look rather slick. And I'm going to try to run all the wiring down under the fender and run it out through here and then under the tractor. So I got to fish all that stuff out from the front, which will kind of be a pain, but not too bad. The nice thing about this is, even though this is right above the tire, I'm probably not going to use this thing for plowing snow or anything like that. So what'll probably, I'll never have to worry about dust and water. I mean, dust, yeah, but water I won't have to worry about really getting into these lights. And there is a little grommet I just slid on there, but yeah, those are going to go on the back there. They're going to be hooked up to be normal operating when the headlights are on, and then I'm going to wire a second circuit into them so I can flip a toggle switch, and then with a 552 thermal flasher like you use in the old GM cars, they'll actually blink. So it'd be pretty neat if I'm doing anything down by the road, pulling I don't know, my rake or something like that, I'll be able to make them flash. Plus, that's just kind of the cool stuff I like. So, little short update on this going on today. You guys saw me rebuilding and cleaning up 2 carburetors, bolting them on the intake manifolds. Now the intake manifold's bolted on the tractor itself. I got to finish bolting the motor down, but I was kind of waiting until I got the starter all wired up and stuff like that. That's where I'm at now. So kind of a medium length update today. Nothing really too exciting, but I did get the motor in the Roper. Painted it all up and stuff the other day. It looks pretty good, except for that big scratch I put on it. But first one hurts the worst. Now it doesn't matter if I scratch it again. I won't feel so bad. I am happy that my buddy Hugh, or Pacific Drumma 95, talked me into repainting the fenders, because as you guys saw in the previous video, the fenders look pretty bad. So I'm liking it. It's almost ready to fire up here. A little bit of wiring, put the dash on and stuff like that. The fuel tank's all set. The fuel line is run all the way up to here from the tank. So I got to put a filter in here, run that into the carburetor, and yeah, this thing's almost ready to go. So thanks for watching, Cranky Motorsports. Have a great day on this lovely, dreary Saturday. We actually got like 4 inches of snow today. I think it's like the 18th of April, so pretty crazy. But yeah, have a great day, Cranky Motorsports. So one last little update before I end. I painted a bunch of the other parts. That's the PTO cover bracket. The bracket that goes from the PTO cover bracket to the grill, the air cleaner bottom, the air cleaner top, and the PTO cover. So got a few more things painted, ready to rock and roll. So once the weather warms up and this stuff dries nice and hard in the next couple of days, I'll be able to finish assembling just about the whole top end of the tractor. I'm pretty happy with how that stuff's coming out. I did touch up the scratch on the engine. However, because this paint's only about a week old, it wrinkled a tiny bit. So yeah, now it looks even worse. But like I said, now it's already looking kind of crummy, the rest of the job. If I scratch anything else, I won't care that much. I put the other pedestal light on the back of the roper, so that's what it's going to look like from behind. Those are, I'm going to set them up so when the headlights are on, they'll be on the low filament, and then I'll make them flash from another separate switch so I can have, like, you know, safety flashers like you'd have. Although I'm thinking if I do that, if I put a 3-point hitch on this thing, it might hit the light. So maybe this one won't get a 3-point hitch. We'll find out. Anyway, thanks for watching Cranky Motorsports. Just a little extra blurb at the end of the video. Have a great, stay out of trouble. God bless.